Some stories never truly end. They wait in the dark, buried under layers of dust and silence, until someone is brave enough to look. Case number 031. Stillwater House, a file that should have been closed decades ago, yet it feels strangely warm to the touch. The archivist didn't say a word. He just handed it over with a look that suggested some mysteries are better left unsolved. I should have turned back then. I should have recognized the weight of the silence in that room. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. The drive was long, leading me to a place where the map ends and the shadows begin. The lake was perfectly, unsettlingly still. It didn't look like a ruin. It looked like a photograph. Perfectly preserved, as if the air itself had turned to stone in 1994, the ground was cold. Every step I took felt like an intrusion on a world that had forgotten the sound of a human heartbeat. The door wasn't locked. It was waiting, yielding to my touch with a soft moan of wood on wood, inviting me into the past. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of old paper and ozone. Everything was in its place, untouched by the passage of years. A cup of coffee sat on the end table. The steam was gone, but the liquid hadn't evaporated. It was a monument to a moment. A blanket lay on the sofa, half folded, as if someone had just stepped away for a second and intended to return immediately. Then, the television sputtered to life. A ghost in the machine, screaming in a language of white noise and flickering shadows, my pulse quickened. The logic of the world outside was fading, replaced by a cold realization that I was not alone here. For a fleeting second, I saw it, a shape within the static. A silhouette that didn't belong to the room, or to this time. I heard it then, laughter, high-pitched and innocent, yet it cut through the silence like a blade. It came from the kitchen. The table was set for 3. Dinner was served, but no one had taken a bite. The food looked fresh, vibrant, and terrifying. I reached out to touch a piece of bread. As soon as my skin made contact, the illusion shattered. It disintegrated into gray ash. I pulled back, my heart hammering against my ribs. This wasn't preservation. This was a trap, a moment held captive by something dark. The shadows on the stairs began to stretch, reaching out like long, thin fingers toward the second floor. I had to go up. Each step was a struggle. The air grew colder, and the sound of my own breathing felt like a roar in the oppressive quiet. The hallway seemed to lengthen as I walked. The doors were shut tight, keeping secrets that had been locked away for 30 years. One door stood ajar, a child's room. The hinges didn't scream. They whispered, a soft invitation to witness the heart of the house. Toys were scattered across the rug. Action figures and blocks, frozen in the middle of a game that would never be finished. On the bed sat a doll. Its glass eyes caught the light, reflecting a world that no longer existed. It felt like it was watching me. Then it moved, just a fraction. A tilt of the head that suggested life where there should only be stuffing and paint. I stumbled back. My breath came in ragged gasps. I was a man of facts and evidence, but there was no logic in this house. Suddenly, the cold was gone. The shadows retreated. The house felt warm, alive, and filled with the smell of home cooking. I saw them, a family gathered around the table. They were laughing, sharing a meal, existing in a perfect bubble of 1994. I was a ghost in their memory. I stood at the edge of the room, a blurred intruder in a scene of domestic bliss. The little girl, Lucy, stopped laughing. She turned her head, her eyes finding mine through the haze of time. The parents followed. Their joy vanished in an instant, replaced by a cold, unsettling seriousness that chilled me to the bone. They weren't looking at a man. They were looking at an anomaly. Something that didn't belong in their eternal, frozen moment. Their faces began to change. The warmth melted away, revealing something hollow and distorted beneath the skin of their memory. The lights flickered violently. The reality of the room began to fracture and tear apart, like a film reel caught in a projector. I fell through the void. When I opened my eyes, the warmth was gone. The house was cold, empty, and dead once again. I didn't wait. I ran. I burst through the door and into the night, the freezing air filling my lungs like a blessing. The lake was still there, calm, patient, a dark mirror reflecting a sky that offered no answers, only more shadows. I looked back one last time. The house stood silent, a monument to a tragedy I couldn't understand and wouldn't forget. There was someone there, a small figure, standing by the glass. Not a ghost, not a memory, but something in between. I knew then, the Stillwater house doesn't keep secrets. It keeps people, and I was lucky to have escaped with my life. Case 031 remains open, but some folders are better left on the shelf, where the dust can hide the truth.